The fluorescent lights in the hospital corridor buzzed like angry wasps, drilling into my skull as I pushed the cleaning cart past another room reeking of antiseptic and something darker. Decay hidden beneath chemical masks. My shoulders ached, that deep bone-tired exhaustion that came from working double shifts 3 days in a row. But rent was due, and Mrs. Chen had already given me an extension I couldn't ask for again. I was invisible here. That's what 6 months of night shift janitorial work at St. Catherine's Hospital taught me. People looked through you when you wore a gray uniform and pushed a mop. Doctors strode past without seeing. Nurses chatted over my head as I scrubbed their break room floor. Even patients, wrapped in their own suffering, never met my eyes. 23 years old, and I'd perfected the art of disappearing. The smell hit me first when I entered the third-floor waiting area, stale coffee, and the particular musk of people who'd been sitting in plastic chairs too long, anxiety seeping from their pores. I started with the trash bins, moving methodically, trying not to think about my own mother's hospital stay 2 years ago. How I'd sat in chairs just like these, praying to a god I wasn't sure listened. She hadn't made it. "Excuse me." The voice was small, barely audible over the drone of the television mounted in the corner. I almost didn't stop, almost kept moving because people didn't really talk to the cleaning staff. But something in that tiny sound, a tremor, a crack, made me turn. The little girl couldn't have been more than 5. She stood near the hallway leading to the ICU, her pink dress wrinkled, dark curls tangled around her tear-stained face. One sock had fallen down around her ankle. Her eyes were huge, drowning in fear. "Miss," she whispered again, and I saw her lower lip quivering. I crouched down, abandoning my cart. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" "My mommy." Her voice broke. "My mommy didn't wake up." Ice flooded my veins. I knew that phrase, knew it intimately, the careful words adults used around children when death had visited. "Where's your family, honey? Where's your daddy?" Or, "Daddy's gone." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. The men came and they were yelling and there was so much blood and mommy fell and she didn't wake up and nobody will tell me where she is and I'm scared. The words tumbled out in a rushing torrent, each one making my chest tighter. I glanced around the waiting area, but it was nearly empty. Just an elderly man dozing in the corner, and a woman absorbed in her phone. Okay. I kept my voice soft, reaching out to gently touch her shoulder. She flinched, then leaned into the contact like she was starving for comfort. "Let's find a nurse, all right? They'll help us figure out." "I already asked." Her bottom lip jutted out. "They said to wait. But I've been waiting forever and nobody came. And I don't know where mommy is, and what if she's scared without me?" My heart cracked. I recognized myself in this child. That desperate need to fix something already shattered. "What's your name?" "Lily." "I'm Emma." I managed a smile that felt like glass cutting my face. "Here's what we're going to do, Lily. We're going to walk together to the nurse's station, and we're not going to leave until someone gives us real answers. How does that sound?" She nodded, slipping her tiny hand into mine. Her palm was sticky, probably from candy or juice, and so small my fingers completely engulfed it. The trust in that gesture nearly destroyed me. We made it 3 steps before I heard it. The elevator doors chimed open, and the atmosphere changed. I felt it before I saw anything. That primal awareness that a predator had entered the territory. The air grew heavy, charged with something I couldn't name. Then came the footsteps, not rushed, but purposeful. Expensive leather on linoleum, each step deliberate, controlled. The sleeping man in the corner suddenly sat straighter. The woman on her phone looked up, then quickly away, her face paling. I turned. 4 men emerged from the elevator. No, 3 men flanked one. The 3 wore dark suits that screamed security, their eyes constantly scanning, hands positioned near their jackets in a way that suggested weapons. But it was the 4th man who made my breath catch. He couldn't have been much older than 30, but he carried himself with an authority that seemed ancient. Tall, with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on Renaissance sculptures, sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, lips pressed into a line that suggested violence sleeping just beneath the surface. His suit was black, perfectly tailored, probably cost more than I made in 6 months. A silver watch caught the light at his wrist. But it was his eyes that trapped me, dark, almost black, and absolutely cold. They swept the waiting area with the efficiency of someone calculating threats, assets, exits. Those eyes found me. Found us. I felt Lily's hand tighten in mine, and I realized she'd gone rigid, pressing herself against my leg. The man's gaze dropped to the little girl, and something flickered across his face, too quick to read. Recognition? Concern? Whatever warmth I thought I glimpsed vanished instantly, replaced by that Arctic assessment. He moved toward us, and his security detail shifted with him like a well-oiled machine. One moved ahead, scanning, two flanked. The precision was terrifying. Lily! His voice was low, rough velvet scraped over gravel. Not loud, but it carried absolute authority. Everyone in the waiting area heard. Everyone felt it. Your uncle sent me. Lily made a small sound, half sob, half gasp. Is Mommy? Your mother is in surgery. He stopped a few feet away, and I caught his scent. Expensive cologne, something dark and woody, undercut with tobacco, and a hint of gun oil that shouldn't have been as appealing as it was. Critical, but stable. The clinical words seemed wrong in that voice, too soft for the hard edges of the man speaking them. His attention shifted back to me, and I felt the weight of his focus, like a physical force. His eyes traveled from my face, down to where Lily still clutched my hand, then back up. Slowly, assessing. I was suddenly, acutely aware of my stained uniform, my hair falling out of its ponytail, the smell of industrial cleaner that clung to my skin. Who are you? Not a question, a demand. I work here. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I was just helping her find Emma. Lily's small voice cut through. Her name's Emma, and she's nice, and she said she'd help me find Mommy. Something dangerous flashed in those dark eyes. Did she? It wasn't a question this time either. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. One of his security detail, a man built like a brick wall, shifted closer, his hand moving fractionally toward his jacket. I was taking her to the nurse's station, I said quickly, lifting my free hand in what I hoped was a non-threatening gesture. My heart hammered against my ribs. She was alone and scared. I'm not, you're Emma Clark. His head tilted slightly, and I realized with creeping horror that he knew my name, my full name. You've worked here 6 months. Before that, you were at Guardian Angel's nursing home. Before that, St. Mary's downtown. You're always broke, always behind on rent. You live alone. The words hit like bullets, each fact a violation. How did he know? How could he possibly? You have $347 in your checking account. Your car is a 2008 Honda with a broken taillight you can't afford to fix. You eat ramen 4 nights a week. He paused, and his lips curved into something that might have been a smile on anyone else. On him, it was a threat. You're nobody. The cruelty of it stole my breath. Not because it was mean, because it was true. Every word a mirror reflecting my insignificant, struggling existence. I was just trying to help, I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. Let her go, Lily. But now. The little girl's hand slipped from mine instantly, and the loss of that small warmth felt like a death. She moved toward him, and I saw her shoulders hunch, preparing for harshness. Instead, he did something that shocked me. He knelt. This man, who radiated danger like radiation, who had security guards and knew things he shouldn't know, lowered himself to one knee with fluid grace. His hand, and I noticed his knuckles then, scarred and rough despite the expensive suit, reached out to cup Lily's face. Your mother is strong, he said quietly, and the gentleness in his voice struck me harder than his cruelty had. Like you. She'll fight. But you need to come with me now. Your uncle is waiting. Can Emma come? Lily's voice was so hopeful it hurt. No, please? She was the only one who listened. Lily. Firmer now. Final. Say goodbye. The little girl turned to me, and I forced a smile, crouching down to meet her eyes one last time. You be brave, okay? Your mommy needs you to be brave. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely, her small arms around my neck. Thank you, she whispered against my hair. Then she was gone. swept up by one of the security guards who appeared at the man's gesture. They moved toward the elevator with military precision, surrounding Lily like the precious cargo she clearly was. But he didn't follow immediately. He stood, and I found myself rising too, though I didn't remember deciding to move. We were close now. Too close. I could see the shadow of stubble along his jaw, smell that intoxicating mixture of cologne and danger, see the absolute lack of warmth in his eyes. You have a kind heart, Emma Clark. Each word was measured, careful. A snake charmer's cadence. That's dangerous. I don't understand. You weren't supposed to see her, weren't supposed to interact. His hand moved, and I flinched, but he simply reached past me to my cleaning cart, pulling out the timesheet clipboard hanging on its side. He glanced at it, and I saw his jaw tighten. You work too much. I need the money. Everyone needs money. He dropped the clipboard back, but most people have the sense not to get involved in things that don't concern them. She was a scared little girl. That concerns any decent human being. The words were out before I could stop them, bold and stupid. His security detail had paused by the elevator, watching. One spoke quietly into his wrist, and I realized they were wearing earpieces. The man in front of me went very still. When he spoke again, his voice dropped to barely above a whisper. But I heard every syllable. Do you know what happens to decent human beings in my world, Emma? They get crushed. They get used. They become collateral damage in games they don't even know they're playing. He leaned in, and I smelled mint on his breath, sharp and cold. You showed her kindness. That was your mistake. Mistake? My voice cracked. Helping a child is a mistake? It is when that child belongs to my world. His eyes held mine, and I saw something flicker in their depths. Warning? Regret. You should have walked away. I couldn't. You should have. He stepped back, and the distance felt like a release of pressure, like I'd been drowning and suddenly broke the surface. But you didn't. And now you're a loose end. The words hit me like ice water, a loose end. I'd heard that phrase before, in movies, in books. Loose ends got tied up, eliminated. I won't say anything. The desperation in my voice was ugly, naked. I don't even know what I'd say. I don't know who you are or what you will. He turned toward the elevator, and his security detail straightened. Someone will make sure of it. He was halfway to the elevator when I found my voice again. Wait, what does that mean? Someone will make sure... But the elevator doors were already closing, swallowing him and his men and little Lily with her tear-stained face. The last thing I saw was his eyes, locked on mine through the narrowing gap. They weren't cold anymore. They were calculating. I stood alone in the waiting area, my heart racing, my hands shaking. The elderly man had disappeared. The woman with the phone was gone. It was like the entire encounter had been a fever dream, except for the lingering scent of expensive cologne and the sick feeling in my stomach. My cart stood where I'd left it, mop water growing cold, trash bag half full, evidence of my normal, invisible life. The life I'd apparently just jeopardized by showing basic human decency. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers, though I had no idea who to call. The police? And tell them what? That a scary man had implied I might be in danger for helping his, what? Daughter? Niece? The screen lit up with a notification. A text from an unknown number. Go home, Emma. Lock your doors. Wait. My blood turned to ice. Another text appeared. Don't run. It's too late for that. The phone slipped from my nerveless fingers, clattering against the linoleum. In the too bright fluorescent light, surrounded by the smell of antiseptic and fear sweat, I finally understood. I wasn't invisible anymore, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. I didn't go home. The rational part of my brain, the part that had kept me alive through poverty, through loss, through every brutal lesson the world had taught me, screamed that I should run, pack a bag, get on a bus, disappear into another city where men with cold eyes and expensive suits couldn't find me. But the texts kept coming. Your landlord is Mrs. Chen, Unit 4B. You're 2 weeks behind on rent. You take the bus. Route 47. It stops running at midnight. Your mother's grave is in Riverside Cemetery. You visit every Sunday. Each message was a violation, a demonstration of how thoroughly I'd been dissected, how completely exposed I was. Running seemed pointless when they already knew everything. Where I lived, where I worked, where I mourned. I finished my shift moving like a ghost, jumping at every sound. The mop felt heavy as lead in my hands. Every time the elevator chimed, my heart stopped. But he didn't come back. Nobody came back. Just the usual parade of exhausted nurses and worried families who still didn't see me. At 6 a.m., when the morning shift arrived and I finally clocked out, my phone buzzed again. Black car. East entrance. Get in. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone again. Through the hospital's glass doors, I could see it, a sleek black Mercedes with tinted windows, idling at the curb where employee parking began. Illegal to park there, but somehow I knew no security guard would approach it. I could walk the other way, take the north exit, catch my bus. Pretend none of this was happening. Another text. Don't make this difficult, Emma. The walk to that car felt like death row. Early morning sun slanted through the city buildings, painting everything gold, beautiful, and cruel. A few people passed me on the sidewalk. A jogger with earbuds, a businessman with coffee, a mother pushing a stroller. Normal people living normal lives. Lives I'd apparently forfeited by showing kindness to a crying child. The rear door opened as I approached. I couldn't see inside. The tinting was too dark. My reflection stared back at me from the black glass. Small, tired, wearing yesterday's clothes that smelled like hospital and fear. Get in, Miss Clark. The voice came from inside, masculine but not his, one of the security detail probably. We don't have all morning. I climbed in, and the door shut behind me with a sound like a coffin closing. The interior was all black leather and dark wood, smelling of luxury, and that same cologne from last night. But he wasn't there. Instead, the brick wall of a man from the hospital sat across from me, his bulk making the spacious car feel cramped. He had a scar running through his left eyebrow, and eyes like chips of granite. Phone, he said, extending a hand the size of a dinner plate. What? Your phone. Give it here. I need my... You need to do what you're told. His voice never rose, but the threat was implicit. Phone. Now. I handed it over with shaking fingers. He pulled out the SIM card with practiced efficiency, snapped it in half, and pocketed both pieces. My phone, my lifeline, my only connection to the world, got tossed carelessly onto the seat beside him. Hey. You'll get a new one. The car started moving, pulling into traffic with smooth precision. Better one. Consider it a gift. I don't want gifts. I want to know what's happening. Where are we going? He smiled, and it was somehow worse than the man's coldness from last night. This smile had humor in it, dark and knowing. You're going to meet the boss, really meet him. And you're going to learn why sticking your nose where it doesn't belong has consequences. The drive took 30 minutes, winding through the city as morning traffic built around us. I watched through tinted windows as my world slid past, my bus stop, the cheap diner where I sometimes splurged on breakfast, the laundromat, the check-cashing place, all the landmarks of my small, struggling existence. We crossed into the financial district, where buildings scraped the sky, and people in $1,000 suits hurried past carrying briefcases and ambition. Then beyond, into an area I'd never been, where old money lived behind iron gates and manicured hedges. The car turned onto a private road, and a gate opened before we even slowed. Security cameras tracked our progress. We passed a guardhouse where two men with obvious weapons watched our passage. Then, the house came into view, and I understood with sickening clarity exactly how far out of my depth I was. It wasn't a house. It was an estate. 3 stories of stone and glass that probably held more square footage than my entire apartment building. Fountains, gardens, a circular driveway where 3 other expensive cars sat like sleeping predators. Out, my escort said as the car stopped. My legs barely held me as I climbed out. The morning air here even smelled different. Cleaner, perfumed with flowers I couldn't name. Everything about this place screamed money and power and danger. The front door opened before we reached it. He stood there, and the morning light did him no favors, or perhaps too many. Last night in the hospital's fluorescent glare, he'd been threatening but distant, like a shark seen through aquarium glass. Here, in natural light, wearing dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, he was devastatingly real, devastatingly dangerous. Emma. My name in his mouth sounded like a verdict. Come in. It wasn't an invitation. I moved forward because standing still felt like choosing death, and my survival instinct, battered as it was, still functioned. The interior was exactly what I'd expected. High ceilings, art that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime, furniture that looked antique and priceless. But it was cold, beautiful and cold, like a museum. Nothing personal, nothing warm, nothing human. He led me through the foyer into a study lined with books I suspected he'd never read. A desk dominated one end. Massive, dark wood, its surface empty except for a laptop and a crystal decanter of amber liquid. Behind it, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked gardens that seemed to stretch forever. Sit. He gestured to a leather chair facing the desk. I sat because my legs were shaking. He moved around the desk with that same predatory grace, but instead of sitting, he leaned against it, arms crossed, studying me. The silence stretched. I counted my heartbeats, 10, 15, 20, before I couldn't take it anymore. Why am I here? Because you involved yourself in something that wasn't your concern. A scared child, the daughter of a traitor. His voice cut like a blade. The child of a man who stole from me, who thought he could betray my family and run, who got exactly what he deserved. The blood. Lily's words came back to me. The men came, and they were yelling, and there was so much blood. You killed her father. It wasn't a question. I had him killed. There's a difference. He said it so casually, like discussing the weather. He knew the consequences of his actions. He chose his fate. Unfortunately, his wife got caught in the crossfire. Lily witnessed something she shouldn't have. Horror crawled up my spine. She's 5 years old enough to talk, old enough to identify faces, voices. His dark eyes held mine. Old enough to be a liability if she falls into the wrong hands. So you're going to, what, kill a child? The words came out on a gasp, and I saw something flash across his face. Offense? Rage? His jaw clenched, and suddenly he was moving, closing the distance between us with 2 strides. His hand slammed down on the arms of my chair, caging me, his face inches from mine. I protect children, he growled, and I could see the fury now, burning beneath that cold exterior. Whatever you think you know about me, about my world, understand this. Children are sacred. Lily is under my protection now. No one will touch her. No one will harm her. She'll want for nothing. His breath was hot against my face, and up close I could see details I'd missed before. A small scar at his temple, the precise edge of his jaw, the way his pupils dilated slightly as he stared at me, and something else. Something that made my stomach flip. Interest. Dark, dangerous interest. Then why am I here? My voice came out barely above a whisper. If you're protecting her, what do you need from me? He didn't move, didn't give me space. If anything, he leaned closer, and I pressed back into the chair, trying to create distance that didn't exist. You showed her kindness, in a world where everyone else walked past, where nurses told her to wait and ignored her tears. You stopped. His voice dropped lower, intimate and threatening all at once. She trusts you. She asked for you 3 times this morning. Cried for the nice lady who held her hand. I don't understand. She needs stability, familiarity, someone soft in a world that just became very hard. His eyes searched my face like he was looking for something, some answer to a question he hadn't asked. You're going to provide that. The words took a moment to process. When they did, I nearly laughed. Would have, if terror hadn't locked my throat. You want me to... What? Babysit? I want you to be her nanny, her companion, the kind face she sees when she wakes up scared, the gentle voice that tells her everything will be okay. He straightened finally, giving me space to breathe. You'll live here. You'll be available whenever she needs you. You'll help her adjust to her new life. I have a job. You have nothing. The cruelty was back, casual and cutting. You have a job that pays minimum wage and destroys your body. You have an apartment you can't afford in a building that should be condemned. You have no family, no prospects, no future. He moved back to his desk, picked up a folder I hadn't noticed before. But I'm offering you one. He dropped the folder in my lap. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a contract, My eyes skimmed the terms, and each line made my head spin more than the last. Salary, $150,000 per year. Room and board included. Health insurance, dental. A signing bonus that was more than I'd made in the last 2 years combined. I couldn't find words. This is insane. This is generous. He sat now, leaning back in his chair with the confidence of a king on a throne. You'll be well compensated for your time and discretion. Discretion. You'll see things, hear things, meet people. His fingers steepled beneath his chin. You'll forget everything the moment you see or hear it. You'll speak to no one about what happens in this house. You'll become invisible again, Emma. Except to Lily. There it was. The catch. The price. I'd be a prisoner in a gilded cage, witness to God knows what, bound by fear and money to keep my mouth shut. And if I say no? His smile was slow, terrifying. You won't. You can't just... I can. He leaned forward, and the air felt heavy again, charged. I know everything about you, Emma, every debt, every desperate choice. Every night you've cried yourself to sleep wondering how you'll survive another month. His voice softened, but it was the softness of a predator toying with prey. I'm offering you a way out, a way to finally breathe. All you have to do is sign, and if I refuse... The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. The threat hung between us like smoke. Finally, he spoke. You seem like a smart girl. Make the smart choice. My hands shook as I stared at the contract. The numbers blurred. My mother's medical bills that still haunted me. My student loans from the degree I'd never finished. The constant anxiety of living one emergency away from homelessness. And a little girl who'd looked at me with such hope, such desperate need for kindness. I want to see her first, I heard myself say. Before I decide. I want to see Lily. Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Respect? It vanished too quickly to name. Follow me. He rose and moved to the door, and I followed because the alternative was sitting alone in this cold, beautiful study, with a contract that felt like a deal with the devil himself. We climbed stairs, moved down hallways lined with more art and empty beauty. He didn't speak, didn't look back, just expected me to follow. I did, hating myself for my obedience. He stopped at a door, knocked softly, the gentleness of the gesture jarring from a man who'd admitted to ordering murder. Lily, you have a visitor. The door flew open, and there she was. Clean now, wearing fresh clothes, little jeans and a pink sweater that looked expensive. Her hair was brushed and tied back with ribbons, but her eyes were still red, still frightened, until she saw me. Emma! The joy in her voice broke something in my chest. She launched herself at me, and I caught her automatically, lifting her as she wrapped her arms around my neck. You came. I asked, and Uncle Dante said maybe, and you came, Uncle Dante. I looked up at him over Lily's head, and our eyes met. His expression was unreadable, but I saw the calculation there. He'd known exactly what seeing her would do to me. He'd played me perfectly. Hey, sweetie, I managed, holding this child who'd already been through too much. I hear you've had a rough morning. Uncle Dante said Mommy's sleeping to get better. He said I can visit her soon. He said I'm going to stay here in this big house and have everything I want. She pulled back to look at me, and her lower lip trembled. But I want you to stay too. Will you stay? Over her shoulder, I saw him watching, waiting. The trap closing with the sweet weight of a child's need. I thought of my empty apartment, my exhausting job, my invisible life. I thought of the contract waiting downstairs with its impossible promises and its terrible price. I thought of my mother's last words. Be brave, baby. Be smart. But most of all, be kind. Kindness had led me here. Kindness might destroy me, but looking into Lily's hopeful face, I knew I'd already made my choice the moment I'd crouched down in that waiting room. Yeah, sweetie, I whispered, feeling the door of the cage swing shut. I'll stay. And Dante smiled. The room they gave me was larger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens, now painted silver by afternoon light. A bed big enough for 4 people dominated one wall, covered in sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent. An ensuite bathroom with marble counters and a tub I could drown in. A walk-in closet already filled with clothes in my exact size, designer labels I'd only seen in magazines, hanging like soldiers awaiting orders. How did you... I turned to find Dante leaning against the doorframe, watching me with that unnerving intensity. Know your size? He pushed off the frame, entering my space, because it wasn't really mine, was it? Nothing here was mine. I know everything about you, Emma. I thought we'd established that. He moved to the closet, running his fingers along the hanging clothes with casual possession. You'll dress appropriately now. No more clearance rack polyester. You represent this household. I represent Lily, I corrected, and immediately regretted the sharpness in my tone. But he smiled, that dangerous curve of lips that never reached his eyes. Bold. I like that. Most people are too terrified to push back. Should I be? Terrified? He turned to face me fully, and the afternoon light cut across his features, highlighting the sharp planes of his face. Beautiful and brutal, like a blade. Yes. But you're also smart enough to hide it. That's why you're still standing here. I'm standing here because of Lily. You're standing here because I allow it. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides, and suddenly I was backed against the window, cool glass pressing against my shoulders. He didn't touch me, but his presence was suffocating, overwhelming. Let's be clear about something, Emma. This arrangement works as long as you remember your place. You care for Lily. You make her feel safe. You stay out of everything else meaning your business, meaning my life. His hand came up and I flinched, but he simply braced it against the window beside my head, caging me. You'll see people come and go. You'll hear conversations. You'll witness meetings that would make you run screaming if you had any sense. His face was inches from mine now, and I could see gold flecks in those dark eyes. You'll see nothing. Hear nothing. Know nothing. Understand? My heart hammered against my ribs. And if I accidentally, there are no accidents in my world. Only consequences. His other hand came up, mirroring the first, and now I was truly trapped. His scent surrounded me, cologne and smoke and something darker, more primal. But here's what you need to understand about consequences, Emma. They're not always what you expect. His gaze dropped to my lips, and the air between us crackled with something dangerous. Something that made my stomach flip, and my skin flush despite every survival instinct screaming at me to run. Sir. A voice from the doorway shattered the moment. The brick wall guard from this morning stood there, carefully not looking at us. You're needed. Dante stepped back, and I could suddenly breathe again. He straightened his shirt cuffs with deliberate precision, his mask of cold control sliding back into place as if the last moment had never happened. Get settled, he said without looking at me. Lily will want you for dinner, 7 sharp. Don't be late. Then he was gone, and I was alone in this beautiful prison, my legs shaking so badly I had to sit on the edge of the bed. What the hell had just happened? The next 3 days established a routine that felt surreal in its domesticity. I'd wake at 7 to find breakfast already prepared by a cook I never saw. Lily would appear around 8, still sleepy but always smiling when she saw me. We'd have breakfast together in a sunny morning room that overlooked a koi pond. Then activities, reading, drawing, exploring the massive house and its grounds while security guards watched from discreet distances. Dante was a ghost. I'd catch glimpses. Him leaving in the morning, expensive suit and cold expression, surrounded by his guards. Him returning late, sometimes with blood on his knuckles that disappeared before I could be sure I'd really seen it. Him taking phone calls in languages I didn't understand, his voice low and threatening. He never joined us for meals, never checked on Lily directly, but I felt his presence constantly. In the way the staff moved around us with careful precision. In the security cameras that tracked every room. In the locked doors I wasn't allowed to open. In the way my new phone, top of the line, delivered without explanation, buzzed occasionally with single-word texts. Good. Or continue. Or once, after Lily had a nightmare and I'd spent 2 hours soothing her. Well done. Like I was a performing animal earning treats. On the 4th night, everything changed. Lily had gone to bed early, exhausted from a day spent in the gardens. I'd retreated to my room, planning to shower, and maybe read one of the books from my impossibly stocked shelves, but as I passed the main staircase, voices drifted up from below. Don't care what his excuse is, he's 3 days late with my money, Dante's voice, cold and sharp as a scalpel. He claims the shipment was seized. Coast Guard. Another man, accent thick. Then he's either incompetent or lying. Either way, he's a liability. I should have kept walking. Should have gone to my room, closed my door, remembered the rules. See nothing, hear nothing. But something in Dante's tone, a darkness I hadn't heard before, made me freeze at the top of the stairs. Through the banister, I could see into the study. Dante stood behind his desk, and in front of him knelt a man I didn't recognize. Blood trickled from the man's nose. 2 of Dante's guards flanked him. "Please." The kneeling man's voice cracked. "I have a family. Kids. I can get your money. Just give me time." "You had time." Dante's voice never rose, but the menace in it made my skin crawl. "You had 3 days. You gambled instead. Lost what wasn't yours to lose." He pulled something from his desk drawer. Even from this distance, I recognized the shape. A gun, black and deadly, casual in his hand like an extension of his body. No, please." The man's begging devolved into sobs, and Dante smiled. That's what made it horror instead of just violence. The pleasure in his expression, cold and genuine. He enjoyed this. The power, the fear, the absolute control. "You should have thought about your family before you betrayed mine." The gun rose. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, something. Because Dante's head snapped up, and his eyes found mine through the banister with laser precision. Time froze. The gun still pointed at the sobbing man. Dante's gaze locked on mine, and in his eyes, I saw the calculation, the decision being made about what to do with this witness to his monstrosity. Then he smiled. Different from before. This smile was for me, and it was terrifying in its warmth. "Emma, come down here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean now." The word cracked like a whip. My legs moved without conscious thought, carrying me down the stairs on autopilot. Every instinct screamed to run, but where would I go? His guards were everywhere. His cameras saw everything. I was already caught. I entered the study, and the reality of the situation hit harder up close. The man on the floor was younger than I'd thought, maybe 30. His face was a mess of blood and tears. He looked at me with desperate hope, like I might save him. I couldn't even save myself. "Come here." Dante gestured to his side with the gun, casual as if summoning a pet. I moved around the desk on shaking legs. He pulled me close with his free hand, positioning me beside him, his arm around my waist in a mockery of intimacy. I could feel the hard muscle of his body, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. He wasn't even breathing hard. This was nothing to him. Routine. "You see this man?" he asked, and his breath was warm against my ear. "He stole from me. Thought he was clever. Thought I wouldn't notice. Please." The man sobbed, looking at me now. "Please, miss, tell him. Tell him I have children." "He does have children," Dante confirmed, and I felt his smile against my temple. 3 of them. Beautiful kids. They'll grow up without a father now. Learn the lesson he never did, that actions have consequences. Don't. The word escaped before I could stop it. "Please don't." Dante went still. The arm around my waist tightened fractionally. "Don't?" "He has children. They need him. Please." I couldn't stop the words now. Couldn't stop the stupid, suicidal pleading. Whatever he did, they didn't do it. Don't make them orphans. The silence stretched so long I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. The man on the floor had gone quiet, barely breathing, waiting for judgment. Dante's hand, the one holding the gun, lowered slowly. He turned to look at me, and his eyes were unreadable, dark, and deep and dangerous. "You're asking me to show mercy. I'm asking you to think about his children, like you think about Lily." It was a gamble. A stupid, desperate gamble that might get me killed along with the man on the floor. But something in Dante's face when he talked about protecting children made me think. Hope. That there was something human beneath the monster. His jaw clenched. The muscle there jumped, tension radiating through his body. For a moment, I thought I'd miscalculated. Thought the arm around my waist would become a hand around my throat. Then he spoke, voice low and deadly. "You have 24 hours to get my money, every penny. With interest, he addressed the man without looking away from me. If you fail, I'll kill you and your brother. Your children will go to foster care. Your wife will spend the rest of her life knowing you chose gambling over her. Thank you. The man scrambled to his feet, backing toward the door. Thank you. Get him out of my sight. Dante's guards moved instantly, escorting the stumbling man out. Then we were alone. His arm was still around my waist, the gun still in his hand, now hanging loose at his side. He studied me with an intensity that felt like being dissected, like he was peeling back layers to see what made me tick. That was remarkably stupid, he said finally. I know. You could have gotten yourself killed. I know. You should have walked away, gone to your room, pretended you saw nothing. I know. My voice cracked. I'm sorry. Those children, you have a weakness. His hand came up, and I flinched, but his fingers only brushed my cheek with surprising gentleness. Compassion. In my world, that gets you killed. Or worse. Then maybe your world is wrong. The words hung between us, bold and foolish. His eyes darkened, something dangerous flickering in their depths. Then, shockingly, he laughed. A low, rough sound that sent shivers down my spine. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met, or the stupidest. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I froze, caught between terror and something else. Something that made my skin flush and my breath catch. I haven't decided which. Does it matter? It might. He leaned closer, and his scent overwhelmed me, smoke and cologne and the copper tang of violence. Because brave or stupid, you've done something no one else has managed in a very long time. What's that? I whispered, made me reconsider. His lips were inches from mine, and I could feel the heat radiating off his body. Made me question. He stopped, jaw clenching again. You're dangerous, Emma Clark. I'm nobody. You said so yourself. I was wrong. His hand slid from my face to the back of my neck. Grip firm, but not painful. Possessive. You're something far more dangerous than somebody. You're someone with nothing to lose who still chooses kindness. That's terrifying. Why? Because it makes me want things I shouldn't want. His forehead pressed against mine, and the intimacy of the gesture contrasted sharply with the violence we'd just witnessed. Makes me think about keeping you, not just for Lily. For me. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. That's not part of the contract. Fuck the contract. The profanity sounded harsh in that smooth voice. I could rewrite it. Add clauses, change terms. His grip tightened slightly. Would you sign, Emma? If I demanded more than just your care for Lily? What kind of more? But I knew. God help me. I knew what he was asking. The kind where you're mine. Completely. Not just employed, but owned. His lips brushed my temple, and I shuddered. The kind where these rooms become a cage you can't leave, where I decide what you wear, what you eat, who you speak to, where your kindness becomes my possession. It should have terrified me, should have sent me running and screaming. But beneath the fear, something else stirred, something dark and reckless that had been beaten down by years of just surviving. That sounds like slavery, I managed. It would be. He pulled back enough to look at me, and his eyes burned with an intensity that stole my breath. But you'd be the most treasured slave in existence. Protected, provided for, kept safe from a world that's only ever hurt you. In exchange for my freedom. You've never been free. His hand cupped my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. You've been a slave to poverty, to circumstances, to survival. At least with me, your chains would be golden. Golden chains are still chains. Yes, he smiled, and it was almost gentle. But at least you'd never go hungry again, never be invisible, never wonder if you matter. His thumb traced my cheekbone. You'd matter to me. Isn't that worth something? The terrible thing was, it was. The even more terrible thing was that part of me, the exhausted, desperate part that had fought for scraps my entire life, wanted to say yes, wanted to surrender to this beautiful monster and let him own me completely. I need to think, I whispered. No. His grip tightened. You need to feel. Thinking is what keeps you trapped in that invisible life. Feel, Emma. What do you want? What did I want? Safety. security, to matter to someone, to be seen, to never be invisible again. But at what cost? Before I could answer, footsteps pattered down the hall. Emma! Emma, I had a bad dream! Lily's voice shattered the moment like glass. Dante released me immediately, stepping back and smoothing his expression into something neutral. By the time Lily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, he looked every inch the cold businessman. Nothing like the man who'd just offered to own me. Uncle Dante? Lily looked between us, and I wondered what she saw on my face. Is Emma in trouble? No, Piccola. The endearment in Italian sounded strange in his mouth, gentle and at odds with the violence I'd witnessed. We were just talking. Emma's going to take you back to bed now. I moved on autopilot, taking Lily's hand and leading her out of the study. At the door, I glanced back. Dante stood behind his desk, the gun now put away, his expression unreadable, but his eyes followed me with an intensity that felt like a physical touch. A promise, a threat, a claim he hadn't yet made but fully intended to. Sleep was impossible. I lay in my enormous bed, staring at shadows dancing across the ceiling, replaying every moment in that study. The gun. The blood. The way Dante had pulled me close like I belonged to him, the terrifying offer that still hung in the air between us like smoke. You'd matter to me. Isn't that worth something? At 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep and moved to the window. The garden stretched out below, illuminated by strategically placed lights that made everything look ethereal, unreal, like a painting of paradise designed by someone who'd never actually been there. Movement caught my eye. A figure stood near the fountain, smoke curling up from a cigarette. Even from this distance, I recognized the shape of him, the broad shoulders, the way he held himself like a coiled spring. Dante. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who couldn't sleep. I should have gone back to bed. Should have drawn the curtains and pretended I hadn't seen him. But my hand was already reaching for the robe hanging in the closet, silk, expensive, nothing like the threadbare terry cloth I'd owned before. And my feet were carrying me down the stairs before my brain could catch up. The house was different at night, darker. The security lights created pools of illumination separated by shadow. I passed a guard stationed in the hallway. He nodded but didn't stop me. Everyone here seemed to know where everyone else was at all times. Privacy was an illusion. The garden air hit me as I opened the French doors, cool and damp, carrying the scent of jasmine and chlorine from the pool. My bare feet touched grass still wet with night dew. The silk robe did nothing against the chill, but I kept walking. Dante didn't turn as I approached, but his voice cut through the darkness. Can't sleep? Neither can you, apparently. He took a drag from his cigarette, the ember glowing like a firefly. I don't sleep much. Hazard of the profession. What profession is that exactly? I stopped a few feet away, maintaining distance. You've never actually told me. Import, export. The lie was smooth, practiced. International trade, boring business stuff. International trade that requires killing people who can't pay their debts. He turned to look at me then, and even in the dim light, I could see the sharpness in his gaze. You should be more careful about what you say, Emma. Even gardens have ears. Your guards? My guards. The staff. The walls themselves. He crushed the cigarette beneath his shoe. This house is a panopticon. Everything seen. Everything heard. Everything recorded. Then you already know I'm here. I knew the moment you left your room. He moved closer, and the security lights caught the planes of his face, creating sharp shadows. Question is, why are you here? Couldn't resist the monster in his natural habitat? You're not a monster. He laughed, sharp and bitter. You watched me prepare to execute a man. Watched me enjoy it. And you still say that? You let him go. Because you asked. His hand shot out, gripping my chin, tilting my face up to his. Do you understand what that means? I've killed men for less than stealing from me. I've done worse things to people who've crossed me, but you batted those pretty eyes and pleaded. And I folded. That doesn't make you weak. It makes me compromised. His grip tightened fractionally. You're a liability, Emma. A weakness I can't afford. I should send you away. Pay you off. Erase any connection between us, but you won't. No. The word came out rough, almost angry. I won't. Because despite every instinct, every rule I've built my life on, I want you here, want you close. Want you... He stopped, jaw clenching. Want me what? His other hand came up, cradling my face between his palms. The touch was gentler than I expected from a man capable of such violence. Want you in ways that would terrify you. Want to lock you in that beautiful room and keep you there, mine and mine alone. Want to mark every inch of your skin so everyone knows who you belong to. My breath caught. That's obsessive, possessive. Wrong. His thumb traced my lower lip, all of the above. But I've never been good at denying myself what I want, Emma. And I want you with a ferocity that's becoming problematic. We barely know each other. I know everything about you. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Your mother died of cancer when you were 21. You dropped out of nursing school to care for her, went into debt for treatments that didn't work. You've been alone ever since, working yourself to death in jobs that don't appreciate you, invisible to a world that doesn't care. His forehead pressed against mine. I see you. Every part, every scar, every broken piece, and I want them all. Tears burned behind my eyes. Having my life summarized so accurately, so brutally, should have felt violating. Instead, it felt like being known, really, truly known for the first time. You scare me, I admitted. Good. You should be scared. I'm dangerous, Emma. To my enemies, to anyone who crosses me, to you, if you're not careful. His lips brushed my temple, but here's the thing. I could also keep you safer than you've ever been. No more struggling. No more fear of eviction or empty cupboards or choosing between medicine and meals you'd never want for anything, except freedom. Is freedom worth so much when it comes with constant suffering? His hand slid down to my neck, thumbs resting against my pulse points. I'm offering you comfort. Security, a place to belong. All you have to do is surrender. To you. To us. He pulled back enough to look at me and his eyes were intense, burning. You felt it in the study. This pull between us. This thing that shouldn't exist but does. You can deny it, fight it, pretend it's not there, but it is, Emma. It's there. And it's growing stronger every moment you stay under my roof. He was right. God help me, he was right. There was something between us, dark and dangerous and completely irrational, something that made my skin flush when he was near, made my heart race when he looked at me, made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. This is insane, I whispered. Sanity is overrated. His hand slid into my hair, grip firm. Tell me you don't feel it. Look me in the eye and tell me you don't want this, and I'll back off. I'll maintain professional distance. You'll care for Lily. Nothing more. I opened my mouth to say exactly that. To lie. To protect myself from the beautiful disaster standing in front of me, but the words wouldn't come, because I did feel it, did want it, despite every logical reason not to. Wanted to be seen, wanted, possessed by someone who looked at me like I was precious instead of invisible. I can't, I finally said, and it felt like defeat and victory all at once. His smile was slow, predatory. Can't what? Can't tell you I don't feel it. The kiss was inevitable, his mouth on mine, claiming, demanding, not gentle. He was incapable of gentleness, I realized, but thorough, consuming, like he was trying to devour every piece of me. His hand in my hair held me captive, while his other arm banded around my waist, pulling me flush against his body. I should have pushed him away. Should have remembered the violence, the danger, the blood on his knuckles. But instead, I melted into him, my hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with a desperation I didn't know I possessed. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His eyes were dark, pupils blown wide. Mine, he growled against my lips. Say it. This is crazy. Say it, Emma. Yours. The word came out broken, terrified, true. I'm yours. Something feral flashed across his face. Triumph, possession, dark satisfaction. Good girl. He kissed me again, softer this time, but no less possessive. We'll renegotiate your contract tomorrow. Add new clauses, new expectations, What kind of expectations? The kind where you share my bed. Where you're available whenever I want you. Where you become mine in every sense of the word. His thumb traced my swollen lips, but in return you get everything. My protection, my resources, my attention. He hesitated on the last word, like he'd almost said something else, something more. And Lily? I had to ask. Had to know this wasn't just about possession. She still needs me. She'll always have you. His expression softened fractionally. That doesn't change. You'll still be her rock, her safe harbor. But now you'll be mine too. Can you handle that? Being pulled between us? I don't know. Honest. I appreciate that. He released me slowly, stepping back. The loss of his warmth made me shiver. Go back to bed, Emma. Think about what you're agreeing to. Really think. Because once you're mine, I don't let go. Is that a threat? It's a promise. He lit another cigarette, his face illuminated briefly by the flame. And I always keep my promises. The next morning, everything changed again. I woke to shouting, male voices, angry and sharp, coming from somewhere downstairs. I grabbed my robe and rushed to the door, opening it to find the hallway empty except for one guard who held up a hand. Stay in your room, miss. What's happening? Business. Nothing for you to worry about. But I could hear Dante's voice now, cold and deadly. I don't care what he wants. He doesn't dictate terms to me. Another voice. Unfamiliar. He's not asking, Dante. He's demanding. The girl is leverage. My blood ran cold. The girl. Lily. I pushed past the guard, ignoring his protests, and ran for the stairs. He didn't shoot me, didn't tackle me. Probably had orders not to harm the boss's new obsession. I took the stairs 2 at a time, following the voices to Dante's study. The door was open. Inside, Dante stood behind his desk, flanked by 4 of his guards. Across from him stood 3 men I didn't recognize. Rough, dangerous, with the same predatory air Dante carried but cruder, less refined. Just hand her over and everyone walks away happy, the man in the center was saying. He was older, maybe 50, with scars marking his face. Her father owed us. The debt transfers to the kid. She's under my protection now, Dante said, voice like ice. That makes her untouchable. Nothing's untouchable. Everyone has a price. Not her. Then maybe we take what we want. The scarred man smiled, and it was ugly. Your security's good, but not impenetrable. Accidents happen. Houses burn. Little girls disappear. The gunshot was deafening. I screamed. Couldn't help it. The scarred man dropped, blood blooming from his shoulder. Dante's gun was smoking, his expression utterly calm. The next one goes through your skull, Dante said conversationally. Want to make more threats about the child under my roof? The other 2 men scrambled back, dragging their wounded companion. You just started a war. No. You did the moment you threatened what's mine. Dante's eyes were empty, void of anything human. Tell your boss that Lily Romano is off limits. So is anyone in this house. Anyone who comes after them dies. Their families die. Their associates die. I'll burn his entire operation to the ground and salt the fucking earth. You're one man? I'm Dante Castellano. The name hung in the air like a death sentence. And you just made the last mistake of your lives. Get out. You have 10 seconds before I kill all 3 of you and mail the pieces to your boss. They ran. Actually ran, dragging the wounded man between them, leaving a trail of blood across the expensive carpet. Dante lowered his gun, and that's when he saw me standing in the doorway. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw something flicker in his expression. Concern? Regret? It vanished quickly, replaced by cool assessment. Emma. Castellano. My voice shook. Your name is Dante Castellano. He went very still. You know it. I did. Everyone in the city knew it, even people like me who lived in the invisible margins. The Castellano family controlled half the criminal operations on the East Coast. Drugs, weapons, gambling, human trafficking. They were the boogeyman parents invoked to scare children, the name that made hardened criminals look over their shoulders. And I'd kissed him. Agreed to be his. Emma, listen to me. He moved around the desk, but I backed away. You're not just Mafia. You're the Mafia. It's not that simple. You traffic people. Drugs. You destroy lives. Horror crashed over me in waves. Oh God, what have I done? You've survived. He caught my arm before I could run. You've found safety in a world that offered you none. Yes, I'm Dante Castellano. Yes, my family controls things that would horrify you. But I've never lied about what I am, Emma. You saw the violence, saw what I'm capable of. You knew. I didn't know this. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't know I was getting involved with the most dangerous criminal family in the country. And now you do. His grip was firm, but not painful. So what are you going to do? Run? Where would you go? Who would protect you now that you're tied to me? My enemies already saw you with Lily. Saw you in my house. You're marked, Emma. Mine, whether you like it or not. You can't just... I can. I have. He pulled me closer, and despite everything, my traitorous body responded to his nearness. You're mine now, for your protection as much as my pleasure. Those men who were just here, they'd use you against me in a heartbeat. The only thing keeping you breathing is the fact that everyone knows what I do to people who touch what belongs to me. I belong to myself. You belong to me. His hand cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes, and I protect what's mine with everything I have. Yes, I'm a monster. Yes, my world is dark and violent and wrong. But in that darkness, you'll be safe. Cherished. Worshipped. His thumb wiped away my tears. Isn't that better than being invisible, being nothing? It's blood money, built on suffering. All money is blood money if you trace it back far enough. His voice softened slightly. I won't apologize for what I am. But I will promise you this. You and Lily will never be harmed. Never want for anything. The rest of the world can burn, but you two? You're sacred. I wanted to fight, wanted to run, wanted to do the right thing. But God help me. I was tired of being invisible, tired of struggling, tired of being nothing to everyone. I need time, I whispered. You have until tonight. He released me slowly. Then we formalize this. Make it official. You become mine in every way, or you leave with enough money to start over somewhere far from here. And Lily? Pain flashed across his face. She stays. She's family now. But I won't force you to stay for her. That choice has to be yours. He was giving me an out. A real one. I could take the money and run. Start fresh somewhere he couldn't find me. Except we both knew that was a lie. Dante Castellano could find anyone. And now that I'd kissed him, let him touch me, admitted I was his, running would just make the chase more interesting. I was caught. The only question was whether I'd fight the trap or accept it. Tonight, I echoed hollowly. Tonight. He turned back to his desk, dismissing me. Close the door on your way out. I left, my legs barely holding me, my mind spinning. Behind me I heard him on the phone, voice cold and deadly. Clean up the blood. And find out everything about Viktor Sokolov's operation. I want names, locations, weaknesses. We're going to war. War. Because of Lily. Because of me. Because Dante Castellano didn't share what he considered his. I was trapped in a cage made of protection and possession, and the terrifying thing was, part of me didn't want to escape. I spent the day with Lily, trying to act normal while my world spun off its axis. We painted in the sunroom, her strokes wild and joyful, mine shaky and distracted. She chattered about her mother, who was apparently improving. The doctor said she'd wake soon. That should have made me happy, but all I could think about was what happened when she did. Would she take Lily away from this beautiful prison? Would Dante let them go? Would I? Emma, you're not listening. Lily tugged on my sleeve, her little face scrunched with concern. Are you sad? Just thinking, sweetie, about Uncle Dante? She said it with the knowing tone of a child who saw more than adults gave her credit for. He makes you nervous. I can tell. He's complicated. Mommy used to say Daddy was complicated too. Before the bad men came, her eyes grew distant. Uncle Dante isn't like those men, though. He's scary, but he's safe scary. Does that make sense? Safe scary. The most accurate description I'd heard. Yeah, honey, it does. Good. She went back to her painting, adding purple flowers to a green sky. Because I like you. I don't want you to leave like everyone else does. The words pierced my heart. This child had lost so much already, her father, almost her mother, her sense of security. And here I was, contemplating abandoning her too. But staying meant surrendering to Dante completely, becoming his in ways that terrified and tempted me in equal measure. The sun was setting when a maid appeared, her face carefully neutral. "Miss Clark? Mr. Castellano requests your presence in his private quarters. Dinner will be served there tonight." His private quarters, not the study, not the dining room. This was it, decision time. I kissed Lily's forehead, let her nanny take over bedtime duties, and followed the maid through parts of the house I'd never seen. We climbed to the 3rd floor, down a hallway lined with art that probably cost millions. She stopped at double doors of dark wood, knocked twice, and disappeared without a word. "Come in, Emma." His voice carried through the door, and I hated how my body responded to just the sound of him. I entered, and my breath caught. The room was enormous, dominated by a bed that could sleep 6. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city lights twinkling in the distance. A fireplace crackled with real flames. And in the center of it all, a table set for 2, candles flickering, dinner already served. Dante stood by the windows, wearing dark slacks and a white shirt open at the collar, no tie, no jacket. Almost casual, except nothing about this man could ever truly be casual. He held a glass of wine, studying me as I entered. "You came." He sounded surprised. "You didn't give me much choice. I gave you every choice." He set down the wine and moved to the table, pulling out a chair. "You could have run this afternoon, could have called the police, though that would have been suicide, could have barricaded yourself in your room. But you're here. Because I was a moth, and he was the flame, and we both knew how this story ended." I sat, and he pushed in my chair with old-world courtesy that seemed absurd coming from a man who'd shot someone this morning. He took the seat across from me, and we existed in strange silence as he served us both, pasta and cream sauce, fragrant and perfect. "I don't do this," he said finally. "Dinners, seduction, courtship, I take what I want. And yet here we are. Here we are." He sipped his wine, eyes never leaving mine. "Because you're different. You make me want to try, want to give you the illusion of choice, even though we both know you made your decision the moment you walked through that door. Arrogant. Accurate." He leaned back, studying me. "You're terrified. I can see it. But you're also curious, drawn to this despite yourself. You want to know what it's like to surrender completely to someone who'll cherish and control you in equal measure. You can't know that. I know everything about you, remember?" His smile was almost gentle. "I know you've spent your life fighting for scraps. Know you're exhausted from being strong, being invisible, being nothing to everyone. I'm offering you rest, Emma, a chance to stop fighting and just be." "Be what? Your property? My partner." The word surprised me. "My equal in everything except power. You'll have access to my resources, my protection, my world. In return, you give me your loyalty, your body, your presence. You help me raise Lily. You stand beside me when I need softness in a hard world. And when you kill people, when you destroy lives, you'll look away." His voice hardened. "That's the price, Emma. You get to keep your morals, your kindness, your good heart. But you don't get to judge me for doing what's necessary to protect what's mine. That's not partnership. That's complicity. Welcome to my world." He stood, moving around the table with predatory grace. "Nothing here is clean. Nothing is simple. But it's real, and it's yours if you want it." He knelt beside my chair, taking my hand in both of his. The gesture was shockingly intimate, vulnerable in a way I'd never expected from him. "I'm not a good man, Emma. I've killed. I've hurt people. I'll do worse before I die. But what I feel for you, this obsessive, possessive thing that's growing every day, that's real. That's honest." His thumbs traced circles on my palm. "I want you. Not just for a night or a month. I want you permanently. In my bed. In my life. Bound to me so thoroughly that leaving becomes impossible." That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. He brought my hand to his lips, kissing my knuckles. "But here's what I'll give you in return. Everything. My loyalty, my protection, my devotion, twisted as it is. You'll never be invisible again, Emma. You'll be the most important person in my world after Lily. Maybe equally important if I'm honest." My breath caught. "You barely know me. I know enough." Know you're brave and stupid in equal measure. Know you value life even when it's inconvenient. Know you'd rather suffer yourself than watch a child cry. His dark eyes held mine. Know that you see me, really see me, and haven't run screaming yet. That's more than anyone else has ever done. Your family fears me, respects me, obeys me, but they don't see me, not like you do. He stood, pulling me up with him. I'm offering you everything I have, Emma. The question is, are you brave enough to take it? This was it. The moment. Say yes, and I'd be bound to a killer, a criminal, a man who'd own me completely. Say no, and I'd be sent away, probably to die when his enemies found me. Some choice. But looking into his eyes, I realized something. He'd told the truth. I did see him, saw the violence and the tenderness, the cruelty and the unexpected mercy he'd shown because I'd asked. The man who protected children while destroying adults. The monster who looked at me like I was precious. I'm terrified, I whispered. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. His hand cupped my face. But do you want this? Do you want me? God help me. Yes. The word barely left my lips before his mouth was on mine, claiming, devouring. This kiss was different from the garden. Deeper, more desperate, like he was trying to consume my very soul. His hands were everywhere, in my hair, on my waist, sliding beneath my shirt to touch bare skin. I gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, walking me backward until my legs hit the bed. We fell together, and he pinned me beneath him, his weight solid and overwhelming. Mine, he growled against my throat, teeth scraping. Say it again. Yours. The word came easier now, resignation and desire mixing into something dangerous. I'm yours. Damn right you are. His hands made quick work of my clothes, and I should have felt vulnerable, exposed. Instead, I felt seen, worshipped. The way he looked at me, like I was art, treasure, something precious to be possessed, made me feel more alive than I had in years. What followed was inevitable, his possession of my body as complete as his possession of my life. And somewhere between the pleasure and the pain, between his whispered promises and my breathless surrender, I stopped being Emma Clark, invisible janitor, struggling survivor, nobody. I became his, completely, irrevocably. 3 months later, I stood in the gardens watching Lily chase butterflies, her laughter bright against the morning air. Her mother had woken 2 weeks after that night, recovered slowly under Dante's protection and care. She'd chosen to stay in a guest house on the property, close to Lily but separate. Safe. We'd become strange family, the reformed widow, the innocent child, the criminal kingpin, and me. His woman. His partner. His obsession made flesh. You look happy. Dante's voice came from behind me, and I leaned back into his embrace automatically now. 3 months of being his had taught me to crave this contact, this ownership. I am. And shockingly, it was true. Is that wrong? To be happy here? Nothing you feel is wrong. His lips brushed my temple. You've given me something I never expected. Peace. In this violent life, you're my still point, my reminder that beauty exists. Poetic for a crime lord, you bring it out in me. I have his arms tightened. Something in his tone made me tense. Good or bad? Depends on your perspective. He turned me to face him, and his expression was serious. Viktor Sokolov is dead, his entire operation dismantled. The threat to Lily, to you, it's gone. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by the knowledge of what that meant. How many people had died to achieve that safety? I didn't ask. Didn't want to know. That was our arrangement. He protected. I looked away. And the other news? Because I could see there was more. I want to marry you. My heart stopped. What? Marry me, Emma. His hands framed my face and his eyes were intense. Make this official. Not just a contract, but a vow. Bind yourself to me in every way possible. Dante, Before you answer, know what you're agreeing to. You'll be a Castellano. That comes with danger, with responsibility, with chains you can never break. You'll be mine forever. No escape, no freedom. His thumb traced my lip. But you'll also have my name, my protection, my everything. You'll matter more than anything else in this world. You'll be untouchable. I'm already yours. I want the world to know it." His voice dropped. "I want a ring on your finger that tells every man alive that you're claimed. I want documents that say you're mine legally, irrevocably. I want—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "I want permanence, Emma. With you." This was insane. Marrying into the Mafia, binding myself to a killer, accepting this twisted version of love. Every rational part of my brain screamed no, but I'd stopped being rational the moment I'd helped a crying child in a hospital waiting room. Yes. The word came out strong, certain. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was devastating, genuine joy mixed with dark satisfaction. "You won't regret this." I already do. But I was smiling too, and when he kissed me, I kissed him back with everything I had. Because this was my life now, beautiful and terrible, comfortable and terrifying. A golden cage I'd walked into willingly and would never leave. Lily's laughter rang out across the garden, pure and innocent. Dante's arms held me close, possessive and protective. The sun was warm on my face, the scent of flowers heavy in the air. I was owned, possessed, bound to a monster. And God help me, I'd never been happier. Epilogue. 6 months later, the wedding was small, just family, which in Dante's world meant dangerous men in expensive suits and their wives who'd learned to smile through anything. I wore white, which felt like a lie, until Dante looked at me walking down the aisle with such raw hunger and devotion that I forgot to care about symbolism. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever owned," he whispered as I reached him. "You're supposed to say, seen, not owned. I don't lie. Not to you." The ceremony was traditional, the vows eternal. When he slid the ring on my finger, a massive diamond that probably cost more than most houses, I felt the final click of the lock. No escape now. I was Emma Castellano, property of the most dangerous man on the East Coast. The reception was lavish, held in the gardens I'd come to love. Lily was flower girl, her joy infectious as she scattered petals. Her mother watched from a table, healthy and whole, smiling despite the circumstances that had brought us all together. As the sun set and music played, Dante pulled me close for our first dance as husband and wife. His hand splayed possessively on my lower back, holding me tight against him. "Happy?" he murmured against my ear. "Terrifyingly so. Good." His lips brushed my neck. "Because you're stuck with me now, forever. No matter what." Is that a threat or a promise? Both. He pulled back to look at me, and his eyes burned with that obsessive intensity I'd come to crave. "I love you, Emma. In my twisted, possessive, probably unhealthy way, but it's real." My breath caught. He'd never said those words before. Never put a name to this thing between us. "I love you too." The truth of it hit me as I said it. God help me, but I do. Then God help us both. He kissed me, deep and claiming, and around us people cheered. I'd started as invisible, ended as owned, somewhere in between. I'd found something I'd never expected. A place to belong. A person who saw me. A life that mattered, even if it was built on blood and darkness. Was it right? Probably not. Was it love? In its own twisted way, yes. Was I happy? Against all logic, all morality, all reason? Yes, I was Emma Castellano now, wife of a monster, mother figure to a child born of violence, complicit in crimes I chose not to see. But I was seen. I mattered. I was loved with a fierceness that would destroy anyone who tried to take me away. And in the end, for a girl who'd spent her life invisible, that was worth any price. Even my soul. The music played. The stars came out. Dante held me close, his possession absolute, and I finally stopped running from the cage I'd walked into. Because sometimes, the cage is the only place you've ever felt safe. Sometimes, the monster is the only one who ever made